Hi, I'm Terry Elton, and I'm going to be leading this course, the Senior Capstone course, LD 0530. This is one of two videos that's going to introduce the course. This one is going to walk you through the syllabus. The other one is going to walk you through Osmer's 4 questions to help you think about your capstone project. So if you don't have your syllabus, I encourage you to pause the video and go get it, and then join us again. So if you look at the syllabus, you'll see that this course meets weekly for the first 9 weeks. 2 of those weeks you're with me, the rest of those you're with your precept. And those are either face-to-face in a residential version at a room at Luther or in Google Hangout for the online precepts. If you look at, there's 2 real big parts to this class. One is putting together your capstone project and defending it. The other is pulling together a collection of artifacts that really help you kind of think through and process and reflect on your learning here at Luther Seminary. Those artifacts are not meant to be brand new things that you come up with. They're meant to pull things you've already done and to look at them again with new eyes and maybe tweak them or refine them for where you are, with an eye towards whatever you're going to do post Luther Seminary. So for an interview or for working with a congregational or something like that. So I'm going to walk you through the different parts to this. Also to let you know that Abby Matter is our TA for this class. Either she or I will be at your first precept and we'll answer any questions that you have so you get started on the right foot. So with that, let's go. So each week you will have some assignments that you're working through, and you as a group will self-lead and help go through those assignments. Those assignments or the conversations at Precept are all around helping you do your capstone project over the course of the whole semester and or reflecting on work that you've already done. So you'll see this first week you will be thinking about what is your research question for your capstone project. Some of you are already well into that. You've done independent studies or you're currently working from some other course or something you've already done for that. Some of you are just thinking about it and then are going to have to kind of go really quickly to move that forward. So bring that to your precept and talk with each other about that. There are sample projects, by the way, on my LutherNet that you can look at if that is of help to you. So once you've decided on that, you're going to use Osmer's 4 questions to kind of walk through what that is. The second week, you're going to be putting together an annotated bibliography. This is both an artifact that you'll put together, but it also can be useful as you're looking at your capstone project. The artifact is going to have 4 different areas. The first area is for you to think about theologically. What are some resources that you found helpful for your leadership and the area that you're working in? Theoretically, where are some resources? And practically, where are some resources? The last section is something specialized. This is the perfect area to be working with your capstone project. So if you've already been working in that area, you might know what those are. If not, this is the time to really hone in and make sure you have some good resources there. So these should have a minimum of 20 resources in those 4 categories, and each annotation or short description should be a minimum of 100 words to kind of describe what that resource is, how it helps you, what's been particularly helpful for you, and why that is. You should have a mix of books and articles, websites, and curriculum, depending on what area you have. The more diversity, the more helpful I think it is. This is a great place to talk with each other and help each other think about that. So that's week 2, the week of February 13th. Week 3 is when you're going to meet with me. That sign-up sheet for Google Doc is already on my LutherNet. Please sign up. Those will be in pairs. And for those of you online or residential, it doesn't matter. Just sign up at the appropriate time, and I'll send a Google Hangout link if you're not residentially going to be there. This is a time for you to come. Make sure you have the resource question that you're thinking of developing and some resources for you to help you think about that. That's what we'll talk about together. Those, like I said, are in pairs, so the 3 of us will get to brainstorm. Week 4, you get to talk about your theological commitments. This is a reflection on what you've learned. This is a theology degree. So what is it that are core to your understanding of God? And then how does that help you think about the area that you will focus on? So it says each student here, the goal is to highlight your theological fluency and to articulate biblically and theologically the concepts that are most critical for you. Help. Each student is free to use whatever format they want, but these artifacts must help the reader, the person, understand those commitments and integrate at least 6 outside resources into that. So this can be a paper, 5 to 10 pages, or it could be done in another format. Like, let's say you're going to do a class and it's a PowerPoint, or maybe it's a video that you're going to put together or something. That's fine, but make sure that we have those areas and the citations to go with that. So that's week 4. That will be, I think, really fun for you to reflect on each other's theological commitments that you've developed over time. Week 5 is to take those commitments now and put them into what does this mean for your theology of ministry, specifically around your focus area. So if you're congregational community care, for example, how do these theological commitments inform how you see leading in chaplaincy or leading in hospice care or whatever that might be? So that's your piece that you take that. These are connected, and so hopefully your theological commitments are going to bleed over now into this. So this is a 3 to 5 page paper that should integrate your theology, your theory, and give some concrete ministry examples, again using at least 5 outside resources. These first 3 pieces are the half of your artifacts that you turn in, and those will be due on Monday, March 13th. Now, a word about the format. I want these to be in some electronic format, where maybe a website. If you already have one, you can put that out. Or maybe this is the opportunity to create one that you can put out, and so that you're using that as a way to have a public conversation. I will give a sample of mine. I use when I go out and speak with congregations. I have a section on my website that says presentations, and I put out on that different PowerPoints or things that I'm doing in my teaching. But I also have links in other tabs to articles that I've written or other things that kind of tell people who I am as a Christian public leader. So that's one example. I just use a free WordPress site. You can use whatever. Abby, our TA, will help you think about that if that's helpful to you. You can also use Google has an option for that, and having a LutherSem web email address, you have access to that. So that's the first part. That brings us up to March 13th. So week 6 is when you're going to start having an outline now for your project. So you have a question, you have some resources. Now we're coming back, and in those 4 areas that are outlined by Osmers, what are the points you want to make with each, and what are the resources that go with that? So this is a time for you to talk with your precept about that, and then in week 7 is when you will meet with me and one other student, again in the same process we did before, to work through that. This is your last meeting with me, so it's also the chance to say if you have any other questions, this is the time to bring them up, because then you're on your own with your precept to get you to the end. So week 8, the last week of March, this is an opportunity for you to do a contextual resource that you have developed, something in whatever area of concentration that you have. So if it's a Bible study that you've done for senior adults, if it's a worship that you've done at a care center, if it's a parent training that you've done in a congregation for children, youth, and family ministry, those are the kind of things that would go into that. So your precept time, you share a story, but you also share some of those resources that you've developed, and then those get put into your collection of artifacts. Week 9 is for you to go back to think about your theological commitments and your theology of ministry and say, now what's my theology of leadership particular? Who am I as a leader within that? So that's the next piece. That's, again, a paper that you put together, and that is 3 to 5 pages in length, with the majority of that being on your theology of leadership and a little bit on who you are. You should have at least 3 outside resources as you think about your theology of leadership. And again, you can use, pull forward the things that you've already talked about in your theological commitments in your area of ministry. You will also talk at that time about what are some ministry learning goals that you have once you're done with Luther Seminary and you graduate. Woohoo! Isn't that exciting? One of the things we really are hoping is to cultivate lifelong learners. And so this is a way for you to say, what are the areas of growth that you anticipate coming? And so that's another piece. That is another artifact that you will put together. That will be the shortest of all of them. And but that's a time for you to share that with people in your precept. And that precept 9 or week 9 is the last one that you will have. From then on, you are on your own. So week 10, you work on finishing your capstone project. Week 10 is that time that goes before and after Easter. And so you have basically a chunk of time to then get to writing and to working on to that. You will post your projects on Friday, April 22nd. Note, any of you that are in the CYF program, there's a prize that goes with that. So the deadline, if you do not make that deadline, you will not be up for that prize. Also, for those of you that are not up for the prize but are concerned about making that deadline, there will be points knocked after that. This is a pretty hard and important deadline. We've got a lot of things to read and to process between that and your defense day, and for us to make sure that grades are in time for you to graduate. So this is a really important deadline. If you have issues, please check on that. Check with me long before we head to that Holy Week in Easter. Week 11 is the time for you to hand in the second part of your portfolio, the last or the artifacts. That's the last 3 that we just talked about: the theology of leadership, your goals for learning, and your contextual resources. And those will be in the same electronic website format, whatever you have for before. You'll just post a link for that in my LutherNet, and that's how I'll have access to them. And then you move to preparing your Defense Day presentation. There's a particular Ignite presentation style that we use. There'll be a video on that as we get closer to that. You don't have to worry about that at this time. But Defense Day will be Friday, May 5th, and that's a really fun day. It's a chance for the community at large to be participating in it, but also for you to hear about your colleagues. And that will be it. That will be the end. So I hope that you're excited for this class. I'm excited every year to get a chance to walk alongside you as you process and reflect on your learning, and as you also create your own idea of creating an argument around something and studying deeply something that's really important to you. Look forward to being with you this semester. Let me know if you have any additional questions via email, or ask Abby or I at your first precept.